All right. So, thing that we did. I love this season. So it's October still. I love this season because I love haunted houses. I love haunted places. I just found out that there's this on the way to work. I have a long drive to work, so I see a lot of things, and well, there's this area. It's like a dilapidated bridge, like a broken down old bridge. The road used to go another way. It doesn't go that way anymore. And so I'm on this. And I was like, man, I was like, I've always wanted to park there and like just kind of walk that bridge and see where it goes. Well, it turns out that bridge, when you come off, there's a cemetery right there. And I know the internet is such that every place that is purportedly haunted is the most haunted place in America, whether that's the Winchester Mansion, or if that's the H.H. Holmes murder house, or if that's the Gettysburg battlefield. Like any place that's the most haunted, or that is haunted, reportedly is the most haunted. That's just the rule. But this place specifically, it's this old, like a frontier boneyard is essentially what it is, and it's supposedly one of the most haunted, that if you go there like the darkest night of the year, or the like, whatever. Anyway, not important to what I want to talk about, but I just kind of geeking on the fact that I love this season because I love that stuff, because there's so much history embedded in it. And so I love going to the haunted attraction places, the scare farms, the haunted corn mazes, the just all that stuff, the fright walks, the haunted hay rides, all of that stuff. I love them. Unfortunately, now that my schedule's the way it is, means that I don't have free weekends, and those places are only open on the weekends. So I found one though that was available, that was open on a weekend, and went, and it was a blast. And I realized something while I was there, is that all haunts, all of those things, like you have the jump scares, right? It's a trope, but it's all based off of the idea of the fear of death. It's all based off of the idea that if you're afraid to die, that you'll be afraid of this thing. And that's where the gore, the blood smeared rubber knife, the haunted bride hanging, or the person in the electric chair, the all that stuff is based on the idea that you're going to be afraid of this because you're going to perceive it as a threat, right? That you're going to be, and the inherent threat is that it could kill you, right? Even though they're not allowed to touch you, right? They're not allowed to, even though they're revving the chainsaw and everything. There's no chain on it. There's nothing to actually be afraid of when you think about it rationally. But even if, let's say you do have, that's a real werewolf, right? That's a real clown that eats children. That's a real whatever the facade is. Imagine if that's a real thing. The reason to be afraid of it is that it could take your life. And I'm thinking about it, but if you're not afraid to die, then there's still nothing to be afraid of. Even if that's a bear in the woods and it's gonna maul you, like if death is not if you're not afraid to die, then you still have nothing to be afraid of. And there's two conditions in which that can be true if you're not afraid to die. And that is if you know what happens afterwards, and you have the divine peace, what you see with the narrative that comes from the martyrs and things, is that that even non-Christian historians, Josephus and Suetonius and some of these would remark on how that no matter how much they were persecuted, they just would not bend to it, because what are you going to do? Paul even in his like, what are you going to do to me? You're going to imprison me? Then I'll convert all your guards. You're going to let me free? Fine. Then I'm going to preach the gospel everywhere that I go. Well, then we'll kill you? Well, to live is Christ and to die is gain. Like, he was stoppable that way, because the worst you can do is kill me, and that's not the worst you can do. There's another condition, however, that I encounter on a regular basis, and that's that you're just that you almost long for the sweet embrace of death, I guess, is kind of the internet thing. Probably Thanos from the actual comics is probably one of the better kind of metaphorical illustrations of it, that he's literally trying to court death, being a feminine kind of personification of death. Or Thanatos is the god of death from Greek myth, that they long for it, they desire it, they think that it's a good thing. And I think that in today's society that kind of manifests itself as the suicidal ideation, self-harm, and depression that I also suffer with in various ways. That it's that you're constantly inundated with this, almost like your mind is trying to kill you, but your body is not willing to go through with it. And so somebody scares you, something like that comes along, and you're just like, well, here it goes. Finally, you're here. It's almost like you have an appointment with someone to come meet you, and they've shown up late, and you're just sitting there waiting for them. And as a result, it deflates those, at least specifically these haunted attractions. They're not scary anymore because the thing that they're offering isn't scary, obviously. I mean, there's the ones that are just not scary, but there's the ones that it's not scary because it's not unwelcome. And I don't know if that's, if even any of this makes sense. If I think it's one of those that if you know, you know, but it's, and I think that's something that we kind of, like, it's easy to make light of, it's easy to make jokes about, because in some ways, humor is a healthy response to fear. You see that people will laugh when they're scared, and I think that's kind of a natural way to express that emotional release. But I think as well it's a way to kind of deflect just how vulnerable it makes you feel at the same time. So something to think about. I mean, in a season where fear and scare is so important, what is it that you're afraid of?